Welcome to the Nuggets Inc. podcast, presented by no one. I'm your host, Matt Schubert, joined remotely by Denver Post Nuggets beat writer Bennett Durando. After an incredible Game 1, the Nuggets come back to upset top-seeded Oklahoma City, now up 1-0 in the series. We get into that game. We go back to the Clippers series. We talk legacies. We talk coaching decisions, all that and more, coming up next. And we are back for another edition of the Nuggets Inc. podcast, presented by nobody connected via technology. Bennett Durando is in Oklahoma City. Yours truly in the Denver Post podcast studios. It's rainy. It smells great outside. Bennett, how's it smell over in Oklahoma City?
Well, it's rainy here too, which is unfortunate. Pretty dour climate overall, I would say. Cold out, not quite what I wanted.
You still haven't said what it smells like.
That I couldn't tell you. I have a weak sense of smell, as the listeners know. And in addition to that, the sinuses have been a little bit clogged.
Oh boy. You're playing sick right now? You're going on out on the court sick?
I've been playing sick since Game 6 of the Clippers series. I'm fairly certain I have the same bug that's been going around a lot of the team. I talked to multiple team employees who have been feeling it today, as a matter of fact, between games 1 and 2 of the Thunder series.
Wait,
Jamal,
so who introduced this bug?
I couldn't tell you who introduced it. I'm not one to make...
Was it you?
Accusations of the origins of it. I know a lot of accusations have been leveled recently about origins of diseases and whatnot, but that's not really my game. But I don't know. I mean, Jamal Murray was sick before I was sick. I can say that. For sure. And Murray is still feeling some of the effects, he said today. So
Jamal Murray is patient zero, and now you're dealing with it.
Perhaps, or it could be any other individual in the Nuggets front office, coaching staff, anywhere. Really not sure I can accurately point fingers there, but doesn't seem to be bothering the Nuggets. So,
well, let's set the stage here. It is Tuesday evening, I would say, late afternoon, evening. The Nuggets pulled off a comeback for the ages in Game 1 in Oklahoma City, culminating with Aaron Gordon draining a three-pointer with 2 seconds left. The Nuggets hang on. They're up 1-0 on the top-seeded Thunder after one game, and I mean, they stole that game. Let's be frank. They stole that game. The Thunder coaching staff was not at their best, maybe, in the last 8 to 10 minutes, I'd say. Questionable challenge, questionable strategy. They decided, you know what? Let's get Nikola Jokic back out on the court. I think that's what we'd like to see happen here. Bennett, your thoughts?
Okay. Are we starting with OKC's coaching staff?
We don't have to. I let it there.
It seems to have been one of the major takeaways nationally from the end of this game, so I guess we might as well. Forgive me if my voice is not as high energy as it might usually be under the circumstances. We're doing our best, but the end of the game, as I was watching it play out, I honestly did not think there was anything wrong with what Oklahoma City was doing.
Did you realize that Nikola Jokic was on the sideline for one of those fouls?
I did realize it.
And you thought that was a good strategy?
I understand.
I always love this qualifier because I've heard this from a couple people already. We all understand the idea. It's the execution.
Okay, well, in execution, Jokic didn't touch the ball after he came back on the floor. So
yeah, but they fouled a guy with less than a second running off the clock.
Your argument that it was a bad idea would be more like in theory, like on paper, than in execution. In execution, I think would go to support Daigneault's approach on this. So here's my thought. Go up 3. Wild comeback from the Nuggets in a game that I don't think any of us thought Denver had any chance to win, probably until Jokic hit the 3 with a little more than a minute left.
Little jab step 3.
Yeah. Incredible cold-blooded shot in Hartenstein's face. Amazing 3 after he had been missing those jumpers for most of the day. So OKC gets a stop after Westbrook misses a 3. Gordon gets denied on the putback. And Shea makes a couple of free throws. They go up 3. We've seen the Thunder do this. We've seen plenty of other teams do it. They're going to foul up 3. So the first time they do it, Jokic catches the inbound pass moving away from the basket. And for that reason alone, I take no issue with the foul that Caruso commits on him immediately, because
where was Jokic stationed? Where was Jokic stationed on the basketball court when he caught that pass?
A few feet behind the 3-point line. It wasn't like right at half. They are in the front court, and he catches the ball moving away from the basket. And if you have scouted Nikola Jokic, you know that he is more savvy than any other player in the league at attempting to sell a shooting foul in bad faith.
Yeah, but here's the thing: how often
up a shot when he thinks he's going to be fouled to get the 3 shot?
How often do the referees bite on that, though? How often?
They almost never do.
Yeah, okay.
That does not mean that they're not going to do it this time if he is actively anticipating it and turning and chucking the ball up. And he almost pulled it off. He turns around. This is how minimal the margin for error is. He turns around and almost releases a, defensible excuse for a 3-point attempt.
Terrible. What would have been a terrible 3-point attempt?
And instead,
low
Caruso
percentage shot.
fouls him with his back to the basket before he has a chance to do that. And you know what else? Nikola Jokic has been kind of suspect at the free throw line for the entirety of the playoffs so far. And so I don't blame Oklahoma City at all for eagerly putting Jokic on the line for 2 shots, thinking if he misses one of them, which he is absolutely prone to do.
8 of 11 going into that.
Yeah, he can absolutely miss one, and then you go make a couple free throws and the game is over, and it's a 4-point game. So I think it's a perfectly philosophically sound decision what they did, and immediately they were questioned for doing it quickly. I understand. I think it's defensible. Jokic makes the free throws. OKC gets the quick dunk. I think that maybe more than any of the coaching stuff, you can question Shea not circling back out and trying to kill 4 more seconds, because the Nuggets didn't really have a weak side defender. If he had just kind of cycled out to the wing or around the break, I don't know. He's a reliable free throw shooter. I think that you kill the time there, you get your superstar to the line, and then you're killing the seconds that you're not killing by fouling.
Where is Nikola Jokic in this situation?
So
is he on the bench?
Not on the floor.
He's on the bench.
Okay.
The bench. Just want to make sure. The best player on the Nuggets team.
He's on the bench. He's sitting at 5 fouls.
Is on the bench.
Denver. David Adelman did not want Jokic to commit a foul. in any outcome, which understandable. If he fouls someone, he's out of the game. It frankly doesn't matter if Denver ties it because they're losing in overtime. So Jokic is out of the game. Oklahoma City gets the dunk. They foul Aaron Gordon again in the backcourt. And this is the one where I think...
How much time comes off the clock?
I don't know, like a second.
Not even.
This is the one where I think there's at least a more fair critique of what they did. Because it's in the backcourt. It's not in the front court. They send Aaron Gordon to the line, 3-point game. It's still around 10 seconds, I think.
12.
Sure. Look, at the end of the day, it's fouling in the backcourt is going to make sure that you're putting them on the line more so than fouling them in the front court. Like, once a team gets ahead of steam and momentum moving the ball up the floor, it is harder to safely commit the foul up three. I'm not making excuses for them. They probably should have lived with that gamble anyway, I guess. But I don't think it's what lost them the game. I also think that they were putting Aaron Gordon on the free throw line, who once again, it's not like he's Jamal Murray, right? They are putting the right type of player on the line. I know that Gordon's free throw percentage has been very solid this year, but he's around 69% for his career. Like, you live with that. If you're Oklahoma City and you're told that Jokic and Gordon will go to the line for 4 shots with Denver down 3 each time, I think you're pretty confident that at least one of those 4 free throws is going to be a miss.
Here's the problem.
Credit to Jokic and Gordon, they made the free throws.
Here's the problem. They got to make free throws too. You're elongating the game to a 4-possession game, essentially, when it probably should have been just a 2-possession game at that point. And when you introduce extra possessions for your own offense, you introduce the possibility that your own offense is going to screw up. And they did.
Yeah,
and
okay. I understand.
This is why...
I think that's flawed logic. That's flawed logic because you also introduce the possibility in a controlled environment for yourself that the opponent messes up.
You're already up 3. You're already up 3. The best they can do is tie the game. They can't win it. They can't win the game. And you're going to risk that another possession for each team when Nikola Jokic is sitting on the bench. It is, I'm sorry, indefensible. Especially,
I think that's completely wrong. It might have been a wrong decision and it might have backfired, but it's 100% defensible.
Hold on, I just let you put it all out there. I'm going to talk now. You foul the guy next to your own free throw line, not the free throw line for the opposing team. You're fouling them on the other side of the court. You have to make them run clock. That's part of this whole strategy, is killing clock. If you want to just completely spread out the game and elongate it more and more, you're just introducing more chances for you to screw it up yourself. They had a great situation. They had a great situation.
I think you're making a good argument.
They had a fantastic situation. The best player on the other team is on. He can only watch. That's all he can do. And now you only really have to worry about 2 or 3 shooters on the court. You're going to get a good contest if they end up getting a shot off. And even if they advance it, you probably have a good chance to foul somebody too. Make them run clock. I'm sorry. Why spread out a game you're winning by 3?
I think hindsight is 20/20. I think the critique is fair. I don't think that the way they handled it is indefensible. That's kind of where I landed on it.
Okay.
Because ultimately, you are introducing room for error for yourself, but you're also introducing room for error for your opponent in a way that you are in control of.
Well,
and
here's
Gordon
another.
And Jokic made their free throws, and if you want to, I think that maybe the most sound argument to make against the way OKC handled this actually is sort of just the experience argument.
I was
where
just about to
Jokic
bring
and
that
Gordon
up.
have been in these spots
I was just
that
about to.
Holmgren hasn't.
I was just about to bring that up. You are basically making the game longer for the team that has been through these battles before and knows this pressure better than you do, by a pretty large margin, by the way. And they're not the ones on their heels. The ones on their heels is the team that's barely holding on to a win right now. And you're giving a team that really at this point is kind of like, whatever. If we lose, we gave them a game, we pushed them. It's not a big deal to the Nuggets. They weren't expected to win that game. They have no pressure on them. The pressure is squarely on OKC. And they basically force their players to perform under pressure more times than they had to. That's really what it boils down to for me.
Okay, I'm going to undermine my own argument a little bit here, and hand up. I understand what I'm doing, because I think there are two ways to look at the Jokic involvement in this. One way to look at it, and I think it's a fair thing for Daigneault to point out, which he did, is that Jokic did not touch the ball. He was not directly involved in the play from end to end that led to Aaron Gordon's game-winning three. Now, I'm like, we're going to sing the praises of Jokic here because he did make a really impressive impact on the entire sequence. First, they have him guard the inbounder for about a second and a half and then turn his back to the inbounder and kind of, have his eyes on the actions that OKC is running, trying to screen to get guys open while Denver is zoning up to defend the side out play. And by doing that, he is able to prioritize keeping the ball away from Shea, kind of helping direct the ball toward Chet Holmgren. It's really fantastic defense on the inbound pass by Jokic. So he does make an impact in that way. He helps ensure that the ball gets to Chet. Holmgren just, I don't know. We can speculate. Was he nervous? Was he, did he look confident or did he look like he didn't want to be in that situation? Whatever the case, he is a young player and he misses both of the free throws and it is a live ball scramble to the other end. One of the most interesting aspects of the play, which I have watched 50 times, as I'm sure you have today too.
It gets better with each viewing. It gets better with every single viewing. It just gets better and better.
It's truly insane. But if you watch Jokic starts to kind of slow play it up the floor. And you're probably thinking, why on earth is Jokic not trying to sprint up the floor and demand the ball? To me, as I've watched it back, and, I haven't had a chance to sort of specifically ask him this, I guess. So it's kind of just me interpreting the way that it looked like he was reading the play. He is abundantly aware of the gravity that he has and the attention that he is going to grab from the Thunder defenders in a hectic 8 seconds. And he knows that if he sprints up the floor, he is taking them with him. And so he kind of hangs back. I think he intentionally hangs back while Christian Brown throws the outlet pass to Russell Westbrook. Westbrook kind of penetrates just a little bit, makes sure that Chet is kind of helping in, finds Aaron Gordon. It's a really mature and smart read by Russ. We can talk about that too. But the reason that I think it's intentional is because when Gordon shoots the three, if you're watching the replay, you suddenly see Jokic sprint all out into the screen,
right?
Like onto your TV screen, onto your phone screen, trying to like crash the glass in case there's a miss and a transfer goes back into the buzzer. And I just have a hard time thinking that he just was tired or not putting in the requisite effort to get up the floor for the first 4 or 5 seconds of that sequence. I think he's intentionally hanging back, giving Denver space to operate in transition to get the shot that they needed, and then trying to time his run, so to speak, in case he is needed on the offensive glass.
I think you might be right. I had the same thought when I was watching the play because I wanted to see what is everybody doing on this play.
Yeah.
And let's go, if we're doing kudos, let's just get into this last play here. Russell Westbrook. I think a lot of people were a little worried that he had the ball in his hands at that moment. If you watch, there's
Why is that?
Oh, I don't know. If you watch, there's a video of the altitude guys watching, and there's like an audible groan when they notice that Russell Westbrook has the ball at the end of the game. But fantastic presence of mind to draw. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say that of that groan, it's both justifiable given the precedent and also a little unfair to Russ. I think we would all admit.
Oh yeah,
he's been fantastic.
We're having fun here, Bennett. We're having fun. Let me have some fun. All right, so audible groan. He drives into toward the paint, and he sees Aaron Gordon. He sets him up, perfect pass. Does not hesitate to set up his teammate. The knock on Westbrook is that he wants to be the guy in those moments, right? That he's going to be the one that kills you by doing something egregious. He doesn't do that. He makes the pass that he should make to his wide open teammate. And then Aaron Gordon, I mean, almost a callback, but not quite, to last postseason. Jamal Murray has 2 game winners. Aaron Gordon, second game winner in 2 weeks. Drains it. Has become so much better of a three-point shooter. And I'm pretty sure that you and I talked about during the season at different points, the shot is on Aaron Gordon to win this game. Are you going to trust him in the playoffs? I wasn't sure. I don't know if you were sure, but he drains it. And I mean, what a comeback. What and an amazing story for Aaron Gordon too.
Incredible shot. And like one of the craziest heists of a game that I've ever seen. It's funny that you mentioned the 2 Murray game winners last year because the differences between the Murray game winners and the Gordon game winners this year is kind of a fitting embodiment of sort of the differences between these 2 teams. Both Murray shots are within Denver's half-court offense, within the flow of them going to exactly what they want to do without calling a timeout at the end of a game because they were just a precision weapon with that 2-man game completely locked in. It was a 57-win team, and what Murray and Jokic were able to do together in the 2-man game was a pretty essential part of that whole season. And it was just this, we dare you to stop us doing the exact thing that we know we're going to do. And the Lakers could not stop them either time. Both of these Gordon game winners, it's a messy air ball that he cleans up the offensive glass, and it's a transition hectic sequence where they just kind of have to run the floor and get whatever look they can get. So transition, offensive rebounding. Aaron Gordon is not the guy that the ball goes through by design in these situations. The ball just found him because this has been a messy season for the Nuggets, and that's just kind of how it goes sometimes. And Gordon is the perfect guy to end up on the, heroic end of these shots because, as I wrote on DenverPost.com right now, it'll be in the paper Wednesday, they are all adamant that he is the most deserving guy of this sort of spotlight, basically, for what he does as a teammate, for what he has sacrificed as a player, for what he's been through in the last year personally. There is just so much, I think, kind of organizational pride in Gordon being the face of some of these dramatic wins.
If you haven't had a chance to read the story from Bennett on Aaron Gordon, I strongly encourage you, denverpost.com/Nuggets. Go find it. It's a fantastic story about Aaron Gordon, where you get a little gem from our guy Christian Brown post game. Just a fantastic read. Wanted to go back to something that you said before going into that. You said an incredible heist of a game for the Nuggets. This is what playoff experience and this is what good championship rosters do. They steal games they shouldn't win. They do it all the time. The Nuggets have done that 3 times now in the playoffs, arguably. They probably shouldn't have won game 1 against the Clippers, right? I think that's a fair assessment.
Yeah.
And then they probably shouldn't have won the Aaron Gordon alley-oop dunk game either, right? You think that's a fair assessment?
I think if that game goes to overtime, they don't win.
Right. Right.
I am a believer in sort of the momentum of a game in those sorts of situations, especially for a home court advantage like the Clippers had.
And had won 2 in a row.
The Nuggets season was fizzling right before our eyes.
And the Clippers had won 2 in a row going into that game. They were about to take a stranglehold in the series. So they steal those 2. They steal this one. This is how you pull off playoff upsets. You win games you shouldn't, and then the games where you're performing well and you win because you're performing well, it starts to add up. Now, I'm not suggesting that it's a foregone conclusion that the Nuggets are going to beat the Thunder, but what a way to start.
No doubt. I mean, this is going to be really tough. I am still pretty skeptical that they can just kind of survive blow for blow over the course of a long series, which, I increasingly expect this to be, and certainly expect it to be if the Nuggets are going to win it. Just from a fatigue depth standpoint, everything that they went through to get to this point, I think it's going to be really difficult. But look, clearly this team has proven that it has a baseline of grit and toughness and, sort of championship heart that is extremely impressive. And throughout the entirety of that game 1, when I just did not think they were going to win really at any point, I think that we were all kind of coming to grasps with the idea that the story of that game was that Denver just did a really impressive job coming off of 1 day of rest and doing everything they could to kind of hang around with OKC and show that they can be competitive in this series at the very least under tough circumstances. And then suddenly it was way more than that, right? So it's really fascinating. This is an impressive team, if an extremely flawed one in a lot of ways. And they've given themselves a chance. I think they're going to have to win both of their home games to win the series. That's my hunch. I think they've got to get up 3-1.
Yeah,
that's going to be a lot to ask.
I think that's accurate. I do think that 3-1 is sort of a prerequisite because I don't think going back to OKC for a game 7, at that point they will have played 14 games in 29 days or something like that. It's something pretty ridiculous.
The schedule of this series is crazy. The first 6 are all every other day,
right?
And then game 7 would be the only game of the series with 2 days of rest. So, and on top of that, obviously, Denver comes into it 1 day between game 7 and game 1. First time they've had to have that type of turnaround from a 7-game series into the next round since the bubble. The last 3 games of the Clippers series were played every other day. So
yeah.
It is grueling, and their rotation, David Adelman keeps kind of pulling straws and trying to figure out if he has an answer somewhere. He tried Julian Strawther in game 1. I'm not so sure that that's going to be sustainable. He's tried Jalen Pickett. He has tried DeAndre Jordan. He has tried even Vlatko Čančar going back to the Clippers series.
Oh, what an adventure that was.
I think it lasted all of 2 minutes and 6 seconds.
He touched the ball twice. One time, first time, he turned it over. Second time, shot clock violation.
Tough break for Vlatko.
Yes.
At any rate, you have they basically tried a handful of different guys to see who might be able to be their eighth man, because even Peyton Watson is not playing a ton of minutes right now. He's kind of in this.
I think he's played well, though.
I thought he was outstanding in Game 7 against the Clippers.
Yes.
Huge credit to him.
He had some moments in Game 1 against the Thunder, too.
Yeah, he did. I want to say he hit a big three early in the fourth quarter,
he did.
too, right?
He had a block as well, a pretty good block.
Yeah. Ultimately, the Nuggets are going to have to rely on their starters a lot, because if you look at the plus minuses in Game 1, it is just like overwhelmingly apparent that the Thunder's depth is a massive problem for Denver, but that Denver's top guys can hang with OKC's top guys. Even before the game winner, Aaron Gordon thoroughly outplayed Jalen Williams. Williams was 5 for 19 in the game, I think.
We're still waiting for Jalen Williams to have a good game in the second round.
Yes. Chet Holmgren did not have a good game either, even before the missed free throws at the end. He misses a putback late in the fourth. He misses a dunk on that wild sequence where OKC wanted Jokic to foul out of the game. He got yammed on by Gordon.
That was fantastic.
It was a little.
I mean, it wasn't quite a dunk. It was kind of a dunk.
I know. I'm like, what does it qualify? I don't know if his hand touched the rim.
It did not.
Sure.
It did not.
Yeah. It's like a throwdown without being a dunk, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe if that's the terminology we want to go with. But so look, like those two guys don't have great games. On Denver's side, I guess going through OKC's rotation, you just think about the impact players, and it's like Alex Caruso was a freak, and Lou Dort made a few incredible defensive plays too, and I think made 4 or 5 threes. So when those two are making their shots that Denver is going to have to be willing to live with, and they are in every passing lane, anticipating every action that Denver does, that kind of speaks to the reasons that OKC is better than Denver.
Right, but do you think you're getting multiple shooting games like that from those guys?
I think Denver's probably going to bet on there not being multiple of those. So
right,
that's the hope, right?
That worked out with Chris Dunn in the first round, didn't it?
Yeah, pretty much. So what you have there is, I mean, look, in fairness, I think Dort shot at 40% in the regular season.
He did.
Just not extremely high volume. So OKC might just absolutely annihilate the Nuggets in the non-Jokic minutes in this series. The non-Jokic, non-Shea minutes when those two are both on the bench, and it's depth versus depth, is probably not going to go Denver's way. But clearly when they're both on the floor, Denver has a puncher's chance. It's kind of a matter if they can pace themselves throughout these games, find the right times to make winning plays like they did in Game 1.
Yeah. Well, I think if I was going to rank the players, Nikola Jokic was the best player on the court last night. I think inarguable. That was a fantastic game for him.
He was incredible.
Granted, he didn't shoot well from the outside until he absolutely had to, but he was still incredible, fantastic, battling, relentless in a lot of ways. I think Caruso was the second best player on the court. Am I crazy for saying that?
I think it's fair, honestly. Shea did end up with.
Oh, you're breaking up a little bit there. Sorry, you're breaking up.
These are the pitfalls of our technology setup.
So I'm sorry. You were saying you think it's fair to say Caruso was too?
Probably. Just thinking about kind of the impact he made, the easy buckets that he generated just by being a ridiculous cornerback. It's also kind of tough to argue against Shea, even in a game where he wasn't absolutely dominant. I think he was close to a 30-point triple-double. So
Yep, he was really great. He was really good too. But the two-way like impact of Caruso was really something in that game.
It was.
And I think Aaron Gordon was great. Jamal had a good first half, not a great second half. Michael Porter Jr., you just don't know what you're going to get on a day-to-day basis from him. It's granted he's dealing with a serious injury. As you've noted, he can't even raise his left arm above his head to take off his shirt post game. But it's some games it's the ball has healing powers and he's shooting it, and then others it's I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, this was one of those I don't know what's going on games. Look, the good news for the Nuggets is like I think they got outscored 23-5 in points off turnovers, and you combine that with maybe a fairly pedestrian Jamal Murray game. Although I'm not going to say that he was bad. Like
No.
do think that like he was just dealing with a ton of ball pressure, and like I don't know, he shot them in the foot a couple of times, but I also think he made some good reads throughout the night, made some good passes. He made a big shot when they were down 9 in the fourth with a nice crossover against Caruso,
Yep.
Which I think was kind of lost in the chaos toward the end. But in a second half when he wasn't scoring that much, to be able to just get separation for one bucket like that is significant, I think. So, like there's room for Murray to be better. There's obviously a ton of room for Porter to be better. There is room for them to protect the ball a little more. And I think you come out of that game, if you're Denver, thinking this is going to be a war. This is going to be a brutal, grueling series, but we just won a game where we absolutely did not play our best, and we have a chance to pretty tangibly get better throughout this series. And that's an encouraging little bit of fuel.
Yeah. I think my one the big takeaway that I have from that game is the mental toughness edge belongs to the Nuggets. Just based upon the playoff scarring and everything that we've talked about in the past. They just seem like a team. They do not get flustered in playoff games. They have an indomitable will that you have to put them away. They're just tough to deal with in those high pressure games. And, I remember watching, Nikola Jokic at one point really gesticulating in a team huddle during the game and thinking, oh, is he losing it? And no, that's not what was going on. These guys are like communicating with each other and, yelling back and forth, but it's a team that is just interconnected and locked in a way that I'm not sure if OKC's quite at that level in that sense. They have more talent, and they have a deeper bench, and they have all these other things, but I think the Nuggets have that.
I also think that we're going to learn throughout this series how much of that toughness Oklahoma City really has. I think it's a little bit difficult to make conclusions about kind of where they fall in that department based on one game. How they respond to that one game is going to be telling in its own way. Like the Thunder could come out and win by 25 tomorrow.
Right.
And, and it's still ultimately a win for Denver to have split the games in Oklahoma at that point. But, you see a counterpunch, you see some confidence grow for the Thunder at that point, and you go into Denver just feeling like there's a little bit of a different tilt in the series maybe. So I think the jury's out there. I think the Nuggets are, like you said, playing and kind of communicating in a very interconnected way right now, which we haven't seen throughout the season. David Adelman has extremely enthusiastically preached this since he took over, and he's now 8-3 as the interim coach.
More playoff wins than regular season wins.
Yes, yeah, that's true. Unique situation. But he has just harped over and over on the fact that the Nuggets need to talk to each other, that it helps Adelman more to kind of hear the input from their players, from their sort of leadership core, to have kind of outspoken, I don't know, just like from Jokic, but he's kind of tried to insist that it's not just Jokic, even though that's obviously what's going to get the most attention, but that Christian Braun is kind of holding his ground on topics in film sessions more than he had been, that he has kind of reached a point where he feels like he has the authority to say what he thinks in his third season in those film sessions, that Aaron Gordon and Jamal Murray will be vocal, that sort of thing.
Yeah. Well,
obviously, you know what you're going to get with Russ. Like,
right. And you know, there was an instance right before TV went to break when I'm watching where Saunders is out there trying to get with the two players, and they're both going back and forth. I believe it was Jamal and Peyton Watson, but I could be wrong. Maybe that was it. But again, it was another instance where these guys are just, pointing into the court, really, communicating with each other about what needs to happen. And it doesn't seem they don't flinch on that. I was very impressed. I thought it was just a very impressive win from start to finish, being able to come back and I would say, take a couple of pretty big haymakers from OKC, and not.
There were so many sequences where it's like, oh, there's just a little 7-0 run. There's a 6-2 run, and now it's back to 10. Now it's back to 11. And it kind of just felt like there was a moment in the fourth where I think I turned to Troy on press row and said, the Nuggets might benefit from like a 12-0 Thunder run at this point, so they can just kind of pull the plug, get their guys out of here, and like start the rest and recovery process for game 2, like not play every single minute of this thing if they're not going to win. And kudos to them. They're smarter than me. Like, they just kept kind of pushing back. It was a 13-point game with 6.5 to go. They ended on a 26-11 run. Jokic scored, I think it was 14 of those 26 points. Just in it, like, mind-blowing comeback. And all these little things. Jokic is playing with 5 fouls. The Thunder really wanted him to be fouled out of the game on that Chet play, as I mentioned. The challenges in this game were completely baffling to me from both coaches.
Oh, my God, so bad. I think Daigneault's challenge is easily the worst of them.
So first of all, let me just go through this. I do feel very passionately about this, and I think it's become more of a hot topic since the playoffs started, and Rob Mahoney of The Ringer has introduced a flow chart.
It's a fantastic flow chart. Fantastic flow chart.
It is a fantastic flow chart. And it's the sort of thing that I think a lot of people who pay attention to this stuff have kind of been yelling into the echo chamber all season, and now it's reaching this high point of exposure. But third quarter, Dak uses his first challenge on an out-of-bounds call that isn't affecting possession with game on the line, as Mahoney will point out, and is not directly leading the points. So instantly a bad challenge. I think I tweeted, Denver rejoice. They have wasted a challenge right here. He wins the challenge. I don't care. It's still a bad challenge. Adelman challenges an offensive foul call on Jokic because Jokic was adamant that he was getting fouled. I think it was kind of him grappling with Chet away from the ball, if I remember right. And this also does not, meet the criteria of the flow chart. I do think there's a little bit of an exception if you're trying to avoid foul trouble for a desperately needed superstar. I kind of understand feeling like you have to use the challenge there, but I'm pretty sure Adelman does not turn to the iPad guys in the second row of the bench. He does not check to make sure that it was, a safe play to challenge. And on the replay, it looked like Jokic pretty clearly fouled him, and he loses the challenge, and Denver's without one for the rest of the game. So bad challenge.
Yes. Let me read the flow chart to you real quick before you get to the last one.
Yeah.
Okay. Should you challenge the play? First one. Will the play you're about to challenge result in actual points? Yes, then you can challenge it. No. Next question. Is it late enough in the game that the possession alone may swing the result of the game? Yes, you can challenge it. No, you do not challenge it. It's that simple. That's it.
That simple.
That's
It's
really
that
it.
simple. Look, if there's a way to add like a side branch about foul trouble for an important enough player, then I'm willing to hear you out on that.
Sure.
But generally, I think that is pretty rudimentary stuff that every coach should be
right.
locked in on. And
so here's where
Daigneault won Coach of the Year last year. He's a really good coach. I'm not like
right.
calling him a bad coach over this, but I'm just like,
no, but
like, it's not a good challenge, man.
Right.
And Adelman has been outstanding for the Nuggets for the last few weeks to get them where they are. Like he got them through this Clippers series with a shorter rotation against Ty Lue, who's like widely respected. Adelman is clearly doing an incredible job, but it was a terrible challenge by him. Like they both deserve.
And just so you know,
over the challenge.
This is when I knew that Dags might be losing it. The second challenge.
Yes.
The second challenge, not only does it not result in points, it doesn't even result in OKC getting the ball back. They wouldn't had they won the challenge, they would not have even gotten the ball back. Why are you challenging that? It was absolutely crazy that he challenged that. And guess what? They really could have used that timeout with 2 seconds left.
Great point. Yeah, so I think Shea like kind of deflects the ball away from Jokic, and they say he slapped him in the arm, and Shea is adamant that he did not foul Jokic, but the ball goes directly into Russell Westbrook's hands. Like, it wasn't a 50-50 ball where if you win the challenge, there's a jump ball. And even in that case, the fact that you're not guaranteed possession of it makes me wary of using the challenge. The fact that it goes to Denver anyway makes it a complete and utter waste. And then just the icing on the cake is that they lose the challenge, and Shea did in fact foul him.
Yes. Like not even close. And you know what's funny is on TV they actually show. So Dags he decides to challenge because the back of his bench tells him to. And as he does this, Shea actually rushes over to try to keep him from challenging because he realizes, no, this shouldn't be challenged. But it was too late. It had already happened, and it was going to happen. And at that point, he had to know he had already wasted his challenge. Absolutely crazy sequence. So, anything else you want to get to from this game, or do you want to go to talk Clippers? We haven't had a chance to talk Clippers since Game 7.
Yeah, let's just talk Clippers very briefly. And then I should probably get going to other engagements. But,
okay. You got a
I was just thinking about sort of the legacy of that series and everything. And like, it's the first time that Nikola Jokic's Nuggets have beaten a 50-win opponent in a playoff series, which puts to rest the kind of silly narrative that ignored the fact that Denver went through multiple postseasons after a 72-game season.
Right. Yeah.
But, nonetheless, they have beaten a 50-win team. So congratulations, hang the banner. Second, I think it is a significant, little bullet point now on the resume of David Adelman, who is coaching for an opportunity at a head coaching job, whether in Denver or elsewhere. I think the Nuggets really like him. The way that he has led this team, it kind of gets harder for me to believe by the day that he won't end up getting the job. Could be wrong, but that's just kind of the gut feeling I have.
He made Chris Dunn unplayable, which I think in many ways helped swing that series.
Yeah, no, it was like significant that they were able to do that. They made a lot of good adjustments with kind of where they were getting Jokic the ball on the floor throughout the series. I thought, after all of it was made of kind of how the Clippers zone affected Denver in Game 4, Adelman goes to his own in the second quarter of Game 7, which is when the Nuggets really start to take control of that game.
Right.
So, like,
and that third quarter,
the willingness to kind of experiment with some stuff, I think, worked out for him. Clearly, the guys are like playing with a lot of intensity and a lot of passion for Adelman. I think, like, I don't know. I think that he has them in a pretty good spot, both in terms of the tactics and the vibes at this point. And so winning that series against Ty Lue, of all people, who had never lost a Game 7 in his coaching career, a significant development in sort of the coaching search undercurrent of this playoff run.
Okay, let me add some legacy stuff here.
Yeah,
My turn. Russell Westbrook gets ultimate revenge on a team that traded him to Utah for the second time, and he gets to have more than one moment in that series where he comes through as a shooter, as a playmaker, as a defender, and ousts the team that let him go. At least provides another, as you said, bullet point of accomplishment in the postseason as a sixth man for a team that just knocked off maybe one of the hottest teams in the NBA entering the postseason. I think I'm not going to go out and say that right now, Russell Westbrook has quieted all of his critics as a clutch performer. Certainly he had some head-scratching moves in a few games, but he has not hurt the Nuggets in the way that I thought he would in the playoffs, and in fact, he has been a plus.
I think he cemented himself as a good signing. Even if he plays poorly for the rest of this Oklahoma City series, like, he was absolutely indispensable to what the Nuggets were able to pull off in a series where the margin was razor thin.
Yep.
And I'm not sure. I just don't know that they win the series without him. He has his Game 1 moments, obviously, at the offensive and defensive ends to help them win that. He goes for 16, 5, 5, and 5 in Game 7.
Fantastic in Game 7.
Which is remarkable. He gets to have his moment kind of, talking his trash.
Hanging on the rim?
About the Clippers leaving him wide open throughout the series, asking the media, what was my percentage? It was 42. Damn, that's pretty good, he says. And I do think that if we look back, a few years from now on what the most indelible moments were from that series, obviously the Aaron Gordon dunk is going to be at the top. But somewhere high on that list is probably going to be Russ gleefully taking the technical foul in Game 7.
Yeah, that was amazing. That was absolutely incredible.
Just the most cathartic and representative moment of how thoroughly Denver kicked their butts in Game 7.
And also, I would say representative of just Russell Westbrook, the player. He plays with contempt at all times for everybody on the court except his teammates. And it is, I think, fitting that, yes, one of his big moments was basically him throwing up double birds to the officials and saying, "Give me your tech. I'm more than happy to have it." That was really something. One other legacy thing, James Harden. Oh, man. That is yet another awful Game 7 from James Harden. Yet another series where he was unable to consistently deliver for his team when they needed him to. And yes, I think he had 11 assists or something like that. How many times was that guy getting into the paint in Game 7? Twice? 3 times? Who knows? I can't even recall an action where he got into the paint in Game 7. It was just an awful showing for him. And that the third quarter from that Clippers team, I mean, that was – did they all go and book their trips at halftime? What happened there?
It's funny. I didn't feel confident booking any trips at halftime because I was thinking about a text that you sent me at halftime of Game 7 a year ago.
Oh, yeah. Remember it well.
Just to throw you under that bus to the Nuggets fan base. You were ready to have me book my Dallas trips for the conference finals. And so I just did not feel very comfortable going there at halftime of this, but it reached a point where it was just such a emphatic blowout that I know, like it was just stunning. Like that, it was so emphatic that Ty Lue gave up and put his guys on the bench in the fourth quarter.
Absolutely,
with a lot of time left.
Yeah.
So James Harden terrible in Game 5, terrible in Game 7. Did not speak to the media after
start to finish.
The Clippers' last 3 losses in the series, I think. So tough stuff.
Yeah, it's and you got to wonder how many more of these sorts of seasons, these sorts of playoff runs are they going to have from Kawhi Leonard? Like they already had been struggling to get them for the last 3 or 4 years. He was fully healthy, and they just squandered that. I don't know what happens next for them, but then again, last year I thought that was sort of the end of their run, and they were going to be terrible this year too. And look at what they did. So, who knows?
Yeah, it was ultimately a very impressive season for them. I'll just say, like, if there's one last thing legacy-wise for the series, it's that Kawhi making it from Game 1 to Game 7 healthy adds a layer of legitimacy to the series.
Definitely.
That I think will just age well. Sort of in the basketball discourse, because it was an incredible competitive series going into Game 7. I was kind of asking some people, like, does this have a chance to, if Game 7 comes down to the last few possessions, to be the best, most competitive NBA playoff series of the 2020s so far? It felt like it was in that conversation. And then Game 7, I think it loses a little bit of its credibility in that conversation just by not having a good game.
Hold on. I watched Nuggets Jazz in the bubble. That was an incredibly competitive series. That was
fair point.
Back
amazing
and forth
series.
as they come. So one other thing, that the Nuggets have now reached the second round of the NBA playoffs, I believe 6 out of the last 7 seasons, which I don't know if people really understand just how incredible that is. They, under George Karl, I believe he was the coach for either 9 or 10 seasons, something like that. They made the second round once, all right? And for them to now be 6 of 7, I mean, it's like Nikola Jokic is a ticket to the Western Conference semifinals. That's what's going to happen. Even with Jamal Murray out, they won once out of 2 times. I think that's an incredible accomplishment for this franchise. Even if they don't win a championship this year, they're advancing, they're winning series year after year, and proving to be, a championship level organization.
And worth adding to that, in this 6 years in 7 or 6 years winning a playoff round in 7 years, kind of through line of the era, the only year where they lost in the first round was the year without Murray and Porter.
Correct.
So it just goes to show sort of the high floor of this core over these years, and who knows what awaits, this off season or in future off seasons under a new regime as far as, eventual general managers. But it has been a very impressive run in terms of just the dependability of Jokic, Murray, and Porter, and then later on Gordon as a team that is going to win you a playoff series and bring some pretty fun postseason memories to Denver, honestly.
Yeah. Denver was not a franchise known for postseason success pretty much from the late 80s until Nikola Jokic showed up. I mean, their best runs were one year with Carmelo Anthony. They made the Western Conference Finals. One year with Mutombo, they knocked off the top-seeded Seattle SuperSonics. That's pretty much it. That was the entirety of their playoff accomplishments. And now you can just book them. They're going to be one of the last 8 teams in the NBA every year. That's what happens when you have Nikola Jokic, Jamal Murray, Michael Porter, and now in the last, I guess, half of this pretty much now Aaron Gordon. He wasn't part of the first part of that. I mean, that was Millsap and Will Barton and all that. So really, it's Jokic and Murray and Porter, I guess, to a certain degree too. Incredible. And they fired their coach 3 games before the end of the regular season. I mean, that's really says something.
Yeah, I'm fascinated to see where this OKC series goes. Should be pretty interesting. Feels like we are strapped in for a longer series than I anticipated. So, looking forward to potting about it some more.
Yeah, I know you now you have a bet with Christian Braun. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's a fair tease. I'm not going to go into specifics for now.
Yeah, that's.
We'll just say he didn't read the Denver Post preview of the series, but he overheard something about it.
Took exception to one of the predictions. I got to tell you, I picked Thunder in 6, and I regret not sticking to my guns. I don't know if you recall, there was a moment.
I do.
Earlier in the season where I said I think that the Nuggets can beat the Thunder in a series, and may even be favorites, I think is what I had said. And I think it was last night was an example of why I thought that. But like you said, Thunder can come out tomorrow and just absolutely blitz them, and the tenor of the series will be completely different coming back to Denver. But gosh, if Denver wins 2 in OKC, that's, oh man, then we're really gearing up.
Absolutely stunning. Yeah.
All right. Well, Bennett, I know you got to go. You have yourself some plans in the just absolutely wonderful nightlife of Oklahoma City. I'd hate to keep you away from that. So we'll be back here again soon. Game 2 tomorrow, Wednesday night. Game 3 and Game 4, I believe, Friday and Sunday. We even get ourselves an afternoon game. Can you believe that? Absolutely fantastic. So
can't wait. Yeah, I'll leave you with this. Oklahoma City is a perfect nightlife city to spend a few days in when you are physically ill. So.
What an endorsement. What an endorsement.
Yeah.
All right. Well, all right, Bennett, thanks for joining me. We'll be back here again sometime soon.
Looks like we have another dragon, Master Ace, spitting the burning passion. It's about to be a catastrophe. Thought I was the only survivor, but at last we meet. Like the food vegans don't eat. I know you can see the infernal blaze. We would probably burn the stage and leave it with 3rd degrees. And inside of us is an eternal blaze, blazing eternally like a furnace. But it's so hot it's burning the furnace's frame. Your family and furniture isn't safe. Better evacuate, cause the skill we can calibrate reduces the chances of your survival if you ever try to retaliate. So dance to this recital so you can slowly gravitate towards us. Who needs a chorus when you're hotter than Earth's core is? No strings attached with no puppets, yo, we're cordless. I fly even when I'm hurt, yo, that's soaring. Your skill isn't apparent, it's an orphan. We proceed to spit the verse that takes your spirit and lifts it high into the earth's atmospheres. Don't come at my sphere of influence, you squares. I take a spear and put it through you, I raise the stakes. Ha, medium rare, you're the least of the media's fears. Why he's the reason the media's scared. Please be prepared to be impaired. Go see repairs, defeating people in pairs. Jordans, I thought I needed pairs to be compared to the people in pairs.
This is a journey into sound. A journey which along the way will bring to you new color, new dimension, new values, and a new experience.
Gather round hip-hoppers as if you're still living. Still got love for the game, I'm still giving and still driven. Like Diddy in the Maybach. I've been repping for the city since way back. All y'all rappers better stay back, cause you still can't find me. I'm a needle in a haystack, a rare breed sitting high up in the chariot. What y'all do is getting high up in the Marriott. Well, consider this your wake-up call. If you're married to the game, this the breakup call. And you ain't wearing a crown if you're not tearing it down. You clowns get found right there in the ground, 6 feet, dirt nap, that's because your shit's weak. I'm a giant, you a pipsqueak. Welcome to my kingdom, yup, the throne has an occupant. Read my name at the bottom of the document. check the scroll. Giving good times like Esther Roll. Peace to Keithy E, God bless the soul. Trying to get more checks to hold. On some slick Rick, Mr. T shit, big chest of gold. And the flow still extra cold, like the North Pole, cocaine snow, another lost soul. Bow down, it's the Grand Royal, yup. 20 plus years in the game, and still the fans loyal.